So, another day, another anime review.
Not quite. Your opponent refused to show up.
Where is he? We just did the first season and he needs to show up for the second one!
Well, I'm afraid you'll have to handle both sides this time.
Fine then. This is Clannad After Story. For those who don't know, Clannad After Story is a sequel to the 2008 anime Clannad that follows the events of Tomoya Okazaki finishing up his last semester of high school and dealing with his life as an adult. Since this is a sequel, there are massive spoilers ahead, so you have been warned. Now that we got that out of the way, let's begin. In terms of animation, Clannad After Story still has the same gorgeous animation that Clannad had, and the background/character models still look really well done. The emotional moments are also really well handled, to the point where I actually broke down crying after a certain character death. I'll get into that later on in the review, but for now I'll say that the emotional moments are still really well done and leave it at that. The music is also still really good. However, one problem I noticed is that the soundtrack for After Story recycles a lot of the music from the first show. I wouldn't mind this that much, but the problem is that the soundtrack from the first show is used more often than the songs composed for After Story. I'm not saying that those songs should have been removed, but if you were going to reuse the soundtrack, a little bit of balance between the old and new songs would be nice. However, aside from that complaint, the opening and ending songs are fantastic, both visually and in terms of the music itself. In fact, I listened to both of these more than the opening/ending of Clannad. But speaking of openings, let's talk about my first issue. I'm not the biggest fan of the first 4 episodes of the show. Although episode 1 was decent, episodes 2 through 4 are dedicated to Sunahara, the comic relief character, and they leave a lot to be desired. First off, this arc brings back May, one of my least favorite characters from the original Clannad show, and she comes back because she worries about her brother not having a plan after high school ends. So what does Sunahara do to get his sister off his back? Use Sane as a fake girlfriend! I am not kidding! Spoiler alert, it doesn't work, and Sunahara begins to treat Sane like his real girlfriend in conversations where May is nowhere to be seen, even though he should know she's not really his girlfriend, and as time goes on, these scenes become unbearable to watch, such as Sunahara not helping a little kid from getting bullied while on a quote-unquote date, and the scene where Tomoya pretends to be May's fake girlfriend. Not even the comedy could save these sets of episodes, as they become very mean-spirited, such as the 4th episode and the soccer team treating May, Nagisa, and Tomoya like, well, slaves. Overall, the writing for this arc wasn't that great. The characters were either complete idiots or were completely unlikable. The emotional quote-unquote bits felt really forced, and these set of episodes felt, overall, really pointless. Oh sure, we got Sunahara's backstory, but unlike the other episodes centered on a character, Sunahara does not change after these episodes, and that's a damn shame. However, it does get somewhat better. For 7 episodes at least. Episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8 deal with Misae's backstory, and Yukine, the librarian from the first show, being involved in the gang war. I actually really liked these set of episodes because the writing was handled pretty well, the new characters were likable, for the most part, the emotional bits worked really well, and the fight in episode 8? Well...
Standing here, I realize you were just like me, trying to make history. But who's to judge the right from wrong? When our guard is down, I think we'll both agree. Violence breeds violence, but in the end it has to be this way.
Friggin' sweet. Episode 8 also gives us an explanation of the light orbs, which are balls of energy that can help someone achieve happiness by completing a goal, even causing miracles to occur if enough are collected. This is an element carried over from the visual novel, but I don't think it was executed that well in the anime. I'll explain why as we go on, but the way it's ultimately used is more head-scratching than awe-inspiring. Oh, and because it'll be mentioned later, I might as well mention the other dimension. I don't like the scenes in the other dimension with the girl and the robot because I feel that it drags on at points and the scenes hardly have any importance on the plot until the final episode. But still, they at least explain both the light orbs and the dimension. Kind of. Which is more than I can say for Nagisa's disease. Speaking of, let's deal with the next set of episodes. Episode 9 deals with Tomoya and friends graduating high school, except for Nagisa, who gets sick and is unable to take her exams. While I do admit that the scenes with Tomoya taking care of Nagisa were really sweet and the heart-to-heart moment near the end was touching, we never really find out which disease Nagisa had. Some fans have theorized what it could be, ranging from AIDS to a possible birth defect, but my issue with this is that if they are going to make this disease a pivotal part of the character, which they do, they should at least tell us the fucking name! Episodes 10 through 12 deal with Tomoya's new job as an electrician, while Nagisa repeats a year, and also focusing on serious issues with Nagisa and Tomoya's relationship, such as Tomoya spending more time working than spending time with Nagisa, which also results in him missing an important date, and showing signs of fatigue, such as passing out during dinner. I actually like these moments because they feel realistic, and seeing the issues instead of getting told about it makes the audience sympathize with Tomoya, and make the scenes where he and Nagisa get through these problems very heartwarming and satisfying. Yes, much like last season, I really like the relationship between Tomoya and Nagisa, and I also give the writers credit for going further with this relationship than most anime. You see, most anime couples, at least the ones I've seen, are usually set up with the two hooking up as the climax, but then it just stagnates and hardly anything is done with them after that. With Tomoya and Nagisa, however, their climax is the confession, but the falling action/conclusion moves forward with their relationship as they get closer and closer, to the point where the conclusion is Tomoya proposing. Maybe it's just me, but I've never seen that many animes go that far with a fictional relationship and handle a concept like that, except for epilogues. So the fact that the Clannad anime was willing to go this far deserves some serious praise from me. That's right, I said Clannad anime, because in the visual novel, they didn't really expand on the relationship past the confession as much as the anime did. Sadly, it goes downhill again. For episodes 13 and 14, the pacing feels a little rushed as we get Nagisa's graduation, Tomoya getting permission from Akio, and I assume Sane since we don't see it on screen, Nagisa moving in with Tomoya, Nagisa getting a job, the school getting torn down, and Nagisa getting pregnant in the span of just 2 episodes. Seriously, these events rush by so fast, you could probably get whiplash from this thing. Look, I'm not saying that these events shouldn't have happened, but for Christ's sake, you could have at least given them better pacing. Maybe if you didn't waste the audience's time with the first 4 episodes, you would have had time to explain how the goddamn chastity couple came to the conclusion to have a kid. And no, a scene like this,
If you tell me, then I'll buy it for you.
I think I want a baby.
does not count. There was no indication between these two to have a sexual relationship. None whatsoever. But that's honestly my biggest issue with these 2 episodes. The rest of it was pretty good, to be honest, and there were a lot of good moments, such as Nagisa's graduation, the scene where Nagisa gets drunk. Hell, the revelation that Nagisa got pregnant was kinda good, even if it wasn't paced well. But here's the weird thing about the next 2 episodes. The pacing slows down. It focuses on Nagisa's pregnancy and the issues with giving birth because of Nagisa's unknown disease. I admit that these 2 episodes made me worry, but it's just kinda strange that we get hit by plot point after plot point for 2 episodes in a row, and then for the next 2 episodes, we're focused on 1 plot point. And then I saw episode 16, and I looked at the screen in shock as Nagisa died after delivering her child. To be honest, when I first saw this, I thought she was gonna make it. I thought she and Tomoya would raise their child together. But no. This death scene made me care about a fictional character dying. A fictional character who died leaving her husband without his wife and her daughter without a mother. But while this scene sparked sadness in me, including one of the only times that I broke down crying after watching it, it also made me wonder, why couldn't they let Nagisa live? She managed to survive her illness twice before. Did they kill her off because there was no other stories to be told? If that was the case, I'm sorry, but I call bullshit. They could have told the story of Tomoya and Nagisa having issues raising the child, especially since by this point Tomoya had a job and Nagisa didn't, mainly because of the pregnancy. There's a story you can tell with that, instead of this. Okay, this next point, I know some of you may accuse me of going off on a tangent, but it's kinda relevant to the earlier sentence. I know that fanfiction gets a lot of hate within the anime community, but what wasn't told by On Top of the World on Top of It All covers stuff like Tomoya and Nagisa's issues with raising the kid, and I think it was done pretty well. I'm sorry, let's just move on. So, after that, Tomoya leaves Ushio with her grandparents and goes into a deep depression, where he regrets meeting Nagisa on that fateful day. The next few episodes deal with Tomoya and Ushio. And while I did not approve of Tomoya being a dick to his daughter at first, I could somewhat understand why, since he was still grieving over Nagisa, and since Ushio probably reminded him of the life he could have had with Nagisa. It's hard for him to accept her death and move forward as both a parent and a person. Thankfully, though, he does eventually move on. Episode 18 helps the viewer understand why Tomoya's father was portrayed as an asshole towards his son, and helps Tomoya become a better parent, capped off with an emotional scene in the sunflower field, as well as an ending scene where Tomoya and Ushio move forward. The next few episodes are also really good. They have good comedic bits, good character bits such as Tomoya and Kyu reuniting after 5 years, the scene with Tomoya and his father reconciling, which also releases Tomoya's light orb, and the scenes with Ushio and Tomoya are also really heartwarming. But it seems all good things must meet an untimely end in this series, as Ushio is stricken with the same illness as her mother, and eventually dies in her father's arms. This freaking scene. I'm at a loss for words. Nagisa's death made me sad, but Ushio's death was unnecessary. Why did she have to die? She had no reason to die at such a young age. Tomoya was happy, Ushio was happy, he could finally move on with his life. But this is a freaking joke! This is a freaking joke! For those of you that saw that breakdown in the reaction, I was not faking it for the sake of humor, or whatever bullshit you want to assume I did that for. I was legitimately upset and furious at this death. What stories could be told with her death? What lesson could be learned from her death? Nothing. I got why Nagisa died. But killing off a child full of innocence and hope, a child who had a chance to live her life to the fullest, was snuffed out because the writer wanted to include a shock moment for the player and viewer! Screw you, Key. Okay. So after that scene, the light orbs work their magic as the imaginary world begins to fall apart, and it's only now, the series finale, that we find out who the girl is. For some goddamn reason, it's an older Ushio, and the robot house is the soul of Tomoya. As the world fades away, Tomoya is sent back to when he first meets Nagisa, and after they have an emotional moment, he's teleported back in time to Ushio's birth. But this time, Nagisa survived. All thanks to the light orbs. The orbs that Tomoya had collected throughout both seasons. The orbs that made their last appearance in episode 19, when Tomoya reconciled with his father and collected his own light orb. Question: why didn't these activate until after Ushio's death? You already made Ushio's death and Nagisa's death pointless by pulling this shit! On top of that, if Tomoya has his memories of the other timeline, as shown in the summary episode, wouldn't that create a time paradox since he comes from a period in which Nagisa both survived and died? Why didn't the orbs activate right after Tomoya collected his light orb? How did Ushio exist in another dimension? How did Tomoya's soul get put into a robot body? What was the point of these 6 episodes if Tomoya gets to be with Nagisa and Ushio and does not regret meeting her on that fateful day? You know what? Whatever. Series is over. I know there are 3 bonus episodes left, but with the exception of the summary episode, there's not much substance to them. Though I will say that I prefer Another World Kyu chapter to the Tomoya chapter any day, and I personally think that aside from a few changes, it could have worked as an actual episode after Nagisa's death instead of an OVA, but I digress. Overall, while After Story does a good job with the romance element, and a lot of the emotional scenes, music, and animation are still top-notch, disregarding Ushio's death, what kills it for me is the writing. A lot of the characters in certain episodes act completely idiotic, the pacing for stuff like episodes 13 and 14 is atrocious, the parallel world didn't make much sense, the light orbs felt more like an afterthought to me, and the final 2 episodes, while they did have some good moments like Nagisa and Ushio coming back from the dead, in terms of wrapping up the whole series, it falls flat. But here's the problem. I can't call it atrocious because there were a lot of good moments to it, but I certainly can't call it amazing because of all the shit it did wrong. How about this? If you don't care about story elements like the ones I bitched about in this review, you'll probably enjoy After Story. I mean, hell, I certainly did when I was doing the reactions. But when it comes down to analyzing and reviewing it, I'm sorry, I can't. I can't let it go. But if you are someone who likes to analyze a lot of stuff, instead of just enjoying it for what it is, like what I did after I finished the reactions, proceed with caution. I still think that Clannad is a good anime if you want to feel emotional, and I do think it deserves the praise it has received from the anime community. But After Story is a difficult case to describe. Look, I'm sorry if I pissed off any fans of After Story, but this is just my opinion of the show. If you still like it, good for you. But for now, thank you all for watching and take care.